Okay, so welcome everybody from all around Australia and South Carolina. And I'm going to put myself on speaker view. Yes, somehow not coming up. And we're going to start with a Mary Magdalene prayer. Before I do that, I just want to introduce there's myself and who's hosting this. And I've been following the path with Mary Magdalene and specifically the Dancing with Mary Magdalene with Linda Amina McMacken from South Carolina. So, Linda, would you like to say hello, Linda Amina, so people can see who you are?
It's very nice to be here and see so many of you followers from the Southern Hemisphere. I'm looking forward to this evening.
Okay, and this morning, thank you.
This morning, yes.
Yeah. So here we bridge all the time zones. It's wonderful. And of course, and then I have Stella Nura. She can say hello, and she's been my companion on the path for a long time as well. And a Myrrophore and a death walker, and also a follower of the path of the great goddess for many times. So do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's really beautiful to be here and see all your faces.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this morning.
Right. So, and you can see that Annie's, Stella Nora's got this lovely rosy complexion and I've got the white one. So between us, we're red and white, Mary Magdalene colours. So I'm just going to start with so you can mute yourselves now, and I'll just start with a Mary Magdalene prayer. So I'll show it to you on the screen. We'll say it together. Blessed are you, Miriam, for you did not waver at the sight of the risen Master. You who were his companion and whom he loved more than any other woman. Holy bride, apostle of the apostles, be at my right shoulder as I walk forth in the infinite light, and bless me with your, we've got a revision, and bless me with the healing balm of your eternal presence. Amen. So that's a beautiful prayer that has come through Amina McMacken, and I can send that to you as well. It's a beautiful one to do each day, and you start to really feel this presence of Mary Magdalene by your right shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to start off talking about Mary Magdalene and how it come to be that we're following this pathway of the anointed oils and her part in Yeshua's journey. So it all started a week before the crucifixion. Well, maybe it started a lot before that because the two of them were only born a week apart. Some sources say that Mary Magdalene was born on the 25th of December by the old Julian calendar, and Yeshua was born 1 week later on the 1st of November, which was the midpoint of winter, or getting close to the midpoint, which is the light being reborn again. It's very interesting. And so they had this, they were both representations of the divine light. So you could say Yeshua came in a form in the masculine and in the feminine. He was represented in both ways, and you couldn't have one without the other. His mission depended on Mary Magdalene. So 1 week beforehand, before the crucifixion, we hear about the story of Mary Magdalene and how she is in the home there having an anointing with Yeshua. And she uses spikenard. Spikenard is that oil that comes from the Valerian family. It was a very costly oil that was imported from India. So, okay. So this, what it was put in an alabaster jar and sealed with beeswax. And it was a big, long journey from India over to Israel and the countries around there, Palestine or the Middle East. So it was an oil that was fit for a king. It wasn't something you used every day. And it was used in rituals of anointing in preparation for a ritual that's called the Hieros Gamos, or the sacred marriage. So a lot of sources believe that this was the point where Christ was recognized, Yeshua was recognized as the Christ through the anointing. And Mary Magdalene, who before was called Mary of Bethany in the scriptures, became Mary the Magdalene, or the tower, the one with all. And this spikenard oil, when she did this process, also prepared all the chakras. So the anointing of all the chakras and bringing light into all the chakras prepared them for the union. This union was something that was more than just a union between two people. It was a union for all beings. So spikenard had this potential to include all people in its sphere of influence. So they were really, this union indicated a union of the divine masculine and feminine that could be recognized by all people. So let me have a look. So Mary's action, it was also, that oil was for deeply committed couples. So that was then for the upliftment and benediction of all. And Mary's action was part of an Egyptian rite concerning Isis and Osiris. So, and it was being reenacted. So she was like the queen, Isis. And by the way, Isis' birthday is also on the 25th of December. and Yeshua was then Osiris in that picture. Okay, and that's the priest king is anointed by the princess, by the priestess queen, in preparation not only for the union, the hieros gamos, or the sacred marriage, but also for the glory and the upliftment of the unified Godhead. So that's important. And the title Christos meant the anointed one. And when he rode into Jerusalem on the ass was actually the secret sign of Seth, the goddess of darkness and death. And he was the one who slew Osiris, and whom Horus, his son, vanquished. But also riding on the ass's back, like Yeshua did, indicated the rider's mastery, that he would come through the whole thing. Now also the oil of spikenard was called the oil of consolamentum. And this takes us to the Cathars. And in about the 11th century, there's a remarkable happening, because Mary and John the Beloved, who was her brother actually, Lazarus, who became John the Beloved after his resurrection, so that was another initiation. They actually went to John the Beloved, and Mary and her group went over to France after the resurrection. Well, they went through Egypt and then to France, and they started something called the Way. So these were people who followed the Way, and it wasn't just, it was outside the normal church that Peter had established, which was quite patriarchal and disdained women, because in the 7th century, 600 AD or thereabouts, Pope Gregory made Mary Magdalene the prostitute. And it was only in about 1967 that the Pope lifted this. Don't quote the year, I can't quite remember it, but it was pretty late that the church recognised her as a saint and not a prostitute. So there we go. He had some issues with women, like a lot of them had. Augustine the same. So, and this was interesting. So the oil of spikenard. In the 11th century, they had, the Cathars took this, the way forward, they took it to another level. And these were the pure, true teachings of Yeshua, of Christ, of the Christed one, which was both Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, both Christed, both anointed. And this anointing we're going to talk about today and how that happened as well. So they became like the Buddhist renunciate. And this became like a moral law, where they turned away from the church and worshipped the holy presence in their hearts. They lived pure lives with love for their fellow man. The Christ light. And so the Christ light was that which was really the saviour of mankind. And they had both people who followed the middle path and the perfecti, or the renunciates. And when someone was dying, the oil of spikenard would be used, and maybe some other oils, to open up the reality between the worlds, to rent the veil of illusion of separation, and so that they got a glimpse of eternity and paradise. So when the Roman Church massacred them, they could willingly and with song go into the fire because they had this glimpse of paradise. They knew this earthly realm wasn't the end of it. So that kind of really instilled their faith. And so it was that consoling oil that helped them with that process as well. And the fact that the Perfecti could give them this kind of vision beyond the veil. And so that's where we're looking for to overcome our separation through this process of using the oils, using the Mary Magdalene Rosary. So the prayer that we just did from Amina, Linda Amina has created a beautiful rosary. I can tell you more about that, which is a pathway of personal growth and overcoming the darkness in one's life and bringing that Christ light in. So yeah, that's all I want to say about spikenard at the moment. That it's fascinating. Also that it was the triple goddess that witnessed the king's death at the end for him to be reborn in all the legends. And so at the foot of the cross we had Mary Magdalene, who was the daughter of light, you could say, or the bride of light. We had Mother Mary, and we had Mary Jacob, who was the crone. So those three were representation of the kingship and his final sacrifice, which rent the veils of illusion, that there was no separation. Death did not separate. And of course, those 7 devils that they talked about were the 7 chakras. And spikenard, when you anoint your chakras, it allows more light and cleansing, purifies the chakras, and it brings you into that alignment where sacred union can take place. So having said all that in all those few breaths, I'd like to invite Stella Nura. Oh no, we're going to do the alabaster jar. That's it. So she's going to tell us about the alabaster jar as the song and dance, and then I'm going to play you the music and you can do some movements. So Stella Nura, would you like to unmute?
Yes. I have unmuted. Oh, right. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Well, I'd like to introduce you all to this most beautiful dance, and I have much gratitude to Amina, Linda, for this dance. I do really resonate with this alabaster jar holding the spikenard. So it's a really beautiful dance. Just to say that the vase is the container for the soul, and the perfume of the spikenard oil in the jar is the essence. The fragrance is the essence. And so when it says that Mary, her home smelled of spikenard, it means that she had her whole heart and soul essence surrounding her. And so I think that we can do the dance. You're welcome to sit and if you like, but I will go through the movements with you, and I'll just move my laptop so perhaps you can see. I'm not quite sure whether you'll be able to see my feet. That might be tricky. Not quite sure how to do this. I'll step back and see. Can you see my feet? At least it's not my face.
That's right. We can see your feet.
Well, I will step forward a bit first because, in fact, I'll just say the words before we sing the music, and I'll do some of the movements for you. So it goes like this. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. So we step to the right and we step to the left as we do our lovely crescent moon. And then with our feet, I don't think you really need to see my feet. we hold our hands palm down and we take 4 steps in. Adonai, Yeshua, hands up and opening out. Kala Mashiach. So the 4 steps in are representing really that devotion to Yeshua and humility and devotion to washing his feet and anointing him. And as we step out, those 4 steps coming out, we're opening up our arms, our hands to represent Mary's beautiful presence and light. So I'm not quite sure whether you feel you can follow that.
We can't see your hands, Anna. We can't. You
Right. Okay.
Your
So
camera.
you've got your hands palm down as you walk in, and as you walk out, you're just opening up your hands and spreading them out like that. Opening out at waist level. Probably at waist level.
Okay, let's start.
All right.
We have the words.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Could we have the words again, please?
Yeah, Annie?
Right.
Stella Nura?
All right. The alabaster jar. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. Adonai Yeshua, Lord Yeshua. Kala Mashiach. Kala Mashiach. That is bride of light. So those are the words. So we might start. If you like to stand up and just take a breath, and then we'll see how we go.
Alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. Adonai Yeshua, the alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. Adonai Yeshua, Mashiach. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion. The alabaster jar contains the oil of my devotion.
Anna, you have muted yourself and we can't hear the music.
Yes.
Okay, so over to you, Stella. Nura, tell us more about Myrrophore and the anointing.
Well, I have a little thing here. It's gone. It's okay. So, Myrrophores. What a wonderful word, Myrrophore. Myrrh-bearing women, priestess of the oils. Such beautiful words to describe women who are healers. And there is a long lineage behind us, but also for Mary Magdalene. And I'm going to cover a little bit about this beautiful long lineage of healers from all kinds of traditions. And so we'll start way back where Anna Sophia started with ancient Egypt, because throughout that whole area, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the ancient Egyptians all had their own healing practices, and particularly with the ancient Egyptians, because they really used a whole lot of other things besides using oils. They also used really deep energetic healing, and they would often use that in a spiraling fashion to cleanse chakras, of course, and to cleanse the body and bring healing light in. But they also used symbols, which is quite interesting, because we do use healing methods like Reiki, where we use symbols for our healing with our hands. So that's one of the areas where symbols are used in healing practices. Also, the Egyptians had a really interesting view on our sense of smell. Now, this is a little tease, really, because I'm going to talk about that a bit later on. But this sense of smell and the seat of the soul is something that I think you'll all really love to hear about, but I want to put it in the other section before I come to sacred oils. Of course, we then have the Hathors, who were also in ancient Egypt in those times, and the Hathors were priestesses who actually worked in the temples, and some of the temples of Isis. They would also have temples of the Hathors, and she's an ancient goddess there. She would also offer healing arts, but mainly around sound and toning. So they would create this moving energy by the use of toning. This was also used in a spiraling motion, toning a note that was relevant or was just right for a particular person. So this created a powerful healing field around the person. So we have this Myrrophore, but using sound. Just a little note here. I don't know if you've heard of Tom Kenyon. He channels music and toning from the Hathors. And now these Hathors are actually beings from another dimension. So, but Tom Kenyon's CDs are available, and he offers some really beautiful toning and music from the Hathors. So then we move on to the Essenes. Now, of course, we know that Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the whole of Jesus's extended family, Yeshua's extended family, lived in a community of Essenes. And Essene, the word Essene means a healer or therapeutic. So just by that word, we know that the Essenes were immersed in healing practices. They, the Essene communities in that whole area around Israel, perhaps the Middle East there, Mount Carmel in particular was one large group of Essenes. They lived a pure life, I suppose, you could say, being washing feet and hands and body, being spiritually and physically cleansed before eating, washing the feet of friends and neighbors, which represented their humility, but also their devotion to each other. So one of their healing methods also was the laying on of hands. We've heard of this before, and often through the Christian faith, there are many healing circles of laying on of hands. So laying on of hands was also done over the crown chakra. So that was to bring down the light, to ensure a clear channel for the light to work on the inner body, on the inner sense as well. So because this was a Jewish sect, they were also really involved with the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. So there are some beautiful sacred oils associated with each of the Sephirah. And at some other point, we might talk about those. So those were the main healing things for the Essenes. All right, so now we do have a short section here on Myrrophores, mainly because we use that as a general term, mainly for women who are priestesses of the oils. And they used many of the oils that magnified the light body, and they were able to raise and lower the vibrations of the body to enable people to be healed by their own, in their own vibrations. They also used their fingertips with oil, sacred oil on, to spin each of the chakras, to balance them and bring them into a healing place. So this was another way in which Myrrophores worked. Some of the oils that were really particular to Myrrophores is myrrh, frankincense, spikenard, and cedar. Of course, there are many other oils, and we will go looking at some of those oils later on. But cedar was known also as a strength of the spirit. It was the tree of life, and it anchors us to the sacred earth. The cedar being the most beautiful tree, of course, there's the cedars of Lebanon and other cedar trees, cedar wood as well. So we know that Myrrophores use lots of different sacred oils, but in that time, those were the main ones. So then we move on to the cathars. Now, Anna Sophia has told us lots of interesting things about the cathars, and so I won't do that over again. However, again, the cathars were very similar in some senses to the Essenes, because they lived a pure, simple life, eating simply, probably vegans. They also used cleansing, washing of hands before meals, before any rituals. So they had this lifestyle of purification and being close to God or to Yeshua. And of course, the spikenard, which Anna Sophia has mentioned. I mean, it's really one of the most beautiful oils. And the oil of consolamentum has all these incredible properties. And I think that's why even here in modern times, when people are dying. Spikenard is one of those important oils to use. I will mention here just briefly that spikenard as a plant is now on the endangered list. I can't remember the name of the organization, but and of course we now find that it is really quite expensive to buy, but nevertheless it is the most beautiful oil to use with sitting with anyone who is dying, and so that's part of our group of oils that really work so well. So then I'm just going to briefly cover some other traditions. I'm not keeping an eye on the time as well, just because these traditions move us into a more modern time, and even though these traditions were with us in ancient times, we still connect with them here today. So the Buddhists. And when we come to the next Zoom on sitting with someone who is dying, we'll look at death and dying. The Buddhists have many practices and healing practices around the process of dying, and a lot of the death and dying processes these days are incorporated into healing practices within our nursing system, within our aged care system. So there are things like the elements of the body as we're dying and how those elements drop away. So it's a diagnostic model. Then we move on to the shamanic traditions. Let me just mention about Buddhists though, because of course we know about the chi and the chi energy within the body, and the Buddhists would be using those energetic systems of the chi for balancing and healing. So shamanic traditions would be next, and briefly, people who follow the shamanic tradition are usually trained over a long period of time, because they go into altered states of consciousness, perhaps looking for animals or the elements of nature or beings of other realms. And these are their healing practices, trying to find out where someone is ill, which organ is unbalanced, where the dis-ease is. And so they may meet with the person's spirit guides and ancestors. And by traveling astrally, they may get that information to heal the person. So they will often use rituals where they will have some clothing or some symbol or some cloth that belongs to the person in order to find out where the illness is coming from. Okay, so then we move on to the Celtic tradition, and of course this starts off maybe in a way with Bridget. The Celtic tradition follows really through the British Isles, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, and the Myrrophores in the Celtic tradition would hold Bridget as one of their inspirators to support them as they're doing their practices. But Celtic traditions are really around making an atmosphere around the person of beauty, of tenderness, of poetry and music. And these wise women would go from home to home offering a beautiful place for someone to be dying. Now, the other interesting thing there is that vigiling and keening is a very Celtic way of sitting with someone who's dying. It's a spiritual language heard by the dead on their journey. So I think that the keening and wailing and vigiling Myrrophores from the Celtic tradition are really quite beautiful. So then we have very briefly the folk medicines of the curanderismo of South America. That would be, you know, quite a range of peoples in South America coming from different worlds: the Spanish, the Gypsy, the Moorish, the Mayan people. So they would really be based on very earthy, practical folk stories, storytelling, and a lot of connection to Mother Earth, using drumming, singing, stamping, calling on Mother Earth to support someone who needs healing or who is dying. And they would often use stones, wood, crystals, feathers, all of those sorts of things to enable them to bring healing. And we would call them Myrrophores too, and in another sense, not necessarily using myrrh or oils, but by using these other practical ways. Right, so we've come to a little bit of an ending here now with the lineage, the lineages that are still opening up to us, I think. We're still finding out more information. I have a small amount of, which have I got time? I would really just like to mention our own First Nations peoples, our Indigenous healers, and I would just like to say that I have recently heard the way in which some Indigenous people, when they are supporting someone who is dying, they sing them into their songline. They sing their songline of country where they were born or where they live. They sing their songline that comes through their body, and the animal or totem, we would call it totem, but whatever the aspect of their songline is, they would sing them. So the Yolnu people up in Western Arnhem Land are singers and keeners. They also keen, and the name that they used is Milkari. It's a bit like Dadiri, you know, that beautiful meditation prayer, the Dadiri. But these are women who and it's only done by women, and they are grieving, they are keening, they are singing the songline of the person who is dying. And there is a really beautiful book out at the moment, which I'll tell you about perhaps at the end, which describes the songline and the meaning and the depth of meaning of the words. So I just thought I'd drop that in because it's only recently come to my attention, and I think, wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so I seem to be talking an awful lot. Well, we're going to move on to why oils and working with the energies of oils. So I just briefly wanted to talk about when the mysteries of Isis and the Egyptian healing speak about the seat of the sense of smell, and which is the seat of the soul. Now this is the pineal gland. Okay? It's connected with our third eye and our crown. And the ancient Egyptians believed that the inhalation and energy absorption of perfumes or smells of oils increases our energetic frequency by stimulating the pineal gland. Now, when I was reading this, I thought, wow, that is, you know, a really amazing thing, because the ancient Egyptians believed that the pineal gland was the seat of the soul, and the sense of smell was one of the most important senses that we have. The pineal gland brings us and connects us to the enlightenment of the body. It attracts the high energy. And so when we connect those three together, we know that this sense of smell that we have with these sacred oils is so important to us. I think it's really rather beautiful. The pineal gland also is governed by the crown chakra and carries light and information and the nous, that wisdom of the heart. It connects all the way down to the heart. And so I think that it opens up our heart and our spirit to our sense of smell. Okay, so, and this is a lot to do with sacred oils. I mean, that's what we do all the time, is to smell them. We want to absorb their energy. We want the fragrance and the perfume to allow a change in our bodies, in our healing. And so that ability, I think, to open our third eye and our crown chakras is part of working with sacred oils. Tom Kenyon, who I mentioned before about toning and the Hathors, he also has a sound toning which will activate the pineal gland. So if you do know of him, or you want to use some other ways of activating your pineal gland, Tom Kenyon is the man to go to. Right, okay. There's another interesting little snippet about the pineal gland, but I think I might tell you about that later, because we're going to move on to some of the oils that are probably most used. There's a selection. So let's think of this selection. Anna Sophia has mentioned some oils that you may have brought with you. But I'm going to actually offer you a couple of meditations. We're going to concentrate on myrrh. And myrrh, if I call her she, because she's often known as a mother oil. And myrrh brings us wisdom and forgiveness. So that is one. So myrrh, frankincense, fragonia, palo santo, rose, spikenard. This is a cluster of oils that are used a lot in sacred work. But of course, there's a whole wide range of other oils that would be beautiful and effective as well in supporting someone who is dying. But just for today, we'll concentrate on just a few. So what I'd like to do is offer you to start with a meditation on the mother oil, myrrh. So the way to do that, I think, is for us to find a comfortable place to sit, settle in a space, whether that's on the floor or in your seat or whatever works best for you. And I will gently take you through a meditation on myrrh. So really, when you're comfortable, you can close your eyes, and it would be good to just gently take a few slow breaths, breathing in and out slowly. Feel your body softening and relaxing, allowing yourself to sink into a silent space. Letting go of all tensions, any worries, and slowly breathing in and out. Take one more deep, slow breath. And gently feel the presence of Mother Oil, Myrrh. She guides you and fills you with the spiritual qualities of healing for yourself, raising your consciousness toward divine love. Myrrh, raising your vibration toward divine love. Myrrh helps you in healing and serving others, and she gives you this beautiful ability to raise consciousness, not only in yourself, but in healing others and raising the consciousness of our cosmos, our world, and all that is. Myrrh brings wisdom and forgiveness. The mother, she deeply connects you to spirit. She brings strength and endurance and inner silence. Myrrh helps you to let go of all negative thoughts and feelings. Letting go of negativity. Myrrh gives you the courage to face all worries. Hold the courage of myrrh. Connecting you with the mother, with the source, with the one. Myrrh is awakening to who you really are, becoming aware of how you can serve and become a channel to lift humanity to a higher level. Myrrh in your heart, let your heart guide you. Myrrh, breathe. Breathe in myrrh, letting go of anxieties and fears. Let it go of blame, anger, dark thoughts. Letting go. Myrrh releases the burdens of pain and sorrow and regrets. Myrrh supports you to forgive others for past and present hurts and misunderstandings and difficult situations. myrrh, wisdom and forgiveness. She says, forgive yourself for any harm or hurt you may have done. Hold myrrh's love and forgiveness. Myrrh, spirit, energy fills your aura, your light, and your love. Hold the light in your body. And now give thanks and gratitude to Myrrh. And gently bring your attention back to your breath. Become aware of your breath. Become aware of your space. And take 2 more breaths and slowly open your eyes. So are you all back with us? I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about Fragonia before we go on to frankincense, because Fragonia is a very new oil and it originates in Australia. We welcome this most beautiful oil, Fragonia. This oil seems to have appeared right at the right time and manifests itself to help us all adjust to new vibrations that are coming through as our planet's consciousness arises. I think that's really rather beautiful, that we have access to Fragonia, which is really only the tree itself, or the large bush, appears to only grow in the south of Western Australia. And the one beautiful thing about it is that it has actually, its vibration is 111, and from sacred geometry, it is the golden ratio. It could be called the golden proportion. And some of you who maybe are more knowledgeable and have about sacred geometry will know more about what that means. I think it says it is perfect harmony. So Fragonia has this perfect harmony, and it has the balance of, it has an affinity to balance and harmony. So this oil, it's worth looking for, this oil, and you can buy it in Australia, so it's worth looking for. Now, it comes from the sun and has links to Ra, the sun god. Now, although this is a modern oil, and in a sense we're putting a Egyptian sun god on this oil, it's probably because it has such a luminous energy. It has the energy of the sun god, It radiates this oil, and whatever it touches, it brings light. And its smell is light and airy, light, and it has a beautiful luminous smell. So transition, whether that's anything that is changing in your life, it brings balance, safety, and it brings clarity of mind. So when this is a beautiful oil to use with anyone who is dying, mainly as a holistic and spiritual care, because it supports the person through the transition. And of course, many changes will go very quickly, and so it's an oil that supports this transition through the sacred threshold. Calm, balance, optimism. So at times people cheerfulness and allows that sort of balance. Myrrophore, of course, sitting, modalities, and often are working themselves in healing, absorbing, the energies of someone dying, maybe their fears, maybe their anxieties, whatever emotions. The healer is often absorbing those, and so also needs to look after themselves, and Fragonia is an oil that can do that by lifting the spirits with this beautiful luminous sun-like energy. So Fragonia is helps you to become aligned with your own soul energy, releasing all any blocked emotions as well. So I think Fragonia opens itself to new ways of healing, and I must say I'm pleased to say that it's been originated in Australia. Now, if you would like, I will do another short meditation. I can make this one a little small. I'm wondering about our timing, and maybe because frankincense is a father oil, and so I thought I'd choose the mother and the father so that we could have a sense of frankincense. And then when we've done that, I will hand over to Anna Sophia. How does that sound? So another short meditation. Perhaps take yourself back to the place where we were for Myrrh, and allow again that beautiful sense of softening, letting go, breathing gently. Focus on your breath. Slowing the breath. Slowing your heartbeat. Letting go. And deepening into silence. We call on frankincense, father oil. Imagine the essence of frankincense, brought by the three kings to the Christ child. They were often known as Zoroastrian astrologers. who found the Christ child. They brought wisdom, knowledge, and knowledge from the stars, and they brought frankincense for healing soul wounds. So breathe in the essence of the wise Father oil, frankincense. His strength, his healing powers, the ability,
No powers.
Maybe disconnect the speaker and just listen to her.
am I not speaking loud enough? Frankincense is opening you to your heart, your mind, heart, intelligence. Frankincense brings the aligning of soul and spirit with the divine. The flow of divine love and harmony, bringing balance and connection of your soul to the divine. Hold that now for a moment in your heart. Frankincense brings calming, soothing, balming, healing power to cleanse any wounds and memories of the past, some so deeply painful that maybe you have formed addictions or obsessions of any kind that helped you to survive. Frankincense has this deep power of cleansing all of those wounds, all of those memories, to bring you into balance. Father oil brings relief, brings spiritual comfort, brings healing and protection. This oil allows us to let go and to realign our soul and spirit, to bring them into balance, into beauty, into harmony, to give us a sense of our own divine purpose, our divine destiny. Frankincense opens your heart to the divine and fills your heart with loving presence. Hold the space of this loving presence. Breathe in. Allow yourself to become aware of your breath. And softly allow yourself to return to the present, letting go of all thoughts, worries, concerns about the past. And hold this divine presence. Take another breath and return now to this space. Another breath And open your eyes. Well, I think it's time to hand over to Anna Sophia.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Wow, I got such a feeling when you did that, Stella Nura, that I was so grounded in the earth with the mother, the myrrh, you know, and my feet were in there and healing the wounds of the earth and, you know, of our earthly existence and our, you know, the things that we needed to forgive ourselves for and forgive each other. I really got that strong sense that it was just going into the earth and being cleansed. And then the father oil, you know, taking us to the possibilities of the celestial realms and the, you know, healing on the higher planes of the spirit and soul. And then Fragonia was the great balancer in the heart. And to me, it was the Christ light, the energy that connected the two. It was like,
Wow.
yeah, I got that sense. I'd be interested to hear from anybody else how that experience was for you, actually. Yeah, well, before I go on, maybe we could just hear if anybody has anything to say about those meditations and how they were for you. Don't have to. Okay, we'll wait till the end.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just briefly say that the other oils that we were going to cover, which we won't go in great depth, that oil tend to do that same process of healing the heart. So that the organ that is the great balancer, and that Annie talked about, Stella Nura talked about where the nous is, or where, and I've written that in the chat box, how you pronounce that, the nous, the seat of spiritual intelligence, and that awareness between the realms, beyond separation. And it's been said that Mary Magdalene, when she saw Yeshua, it was through the nous, when after he had risen, you know, resurrected, and he hadn't fully gone yet. And so she had such a highly developed sensibility of her heart that she could connect through all the different realms and see things in different realms as well. And she also helped Yeshua through the whole death process. It is said that she went through it herself, and Yeshua, you know, chose to go to the Father, I suppose, and be with us in the heavenly realms. And Magdalena stays behind in the earthly realms. She was like the Bodhisattva who, you know, kept manifesting all through the last 2,000 years in different ways. You know, when women have stood up for themselves, have stood up for what's unjust, what has been unjust, have spoken the truth, have safeguarded nature, have communed with nature, have had natural healing, all those things that would have, you know, been completely wiped out, and women held that still, no matter what the opposition was. So they were all, we've been a long line of Magdalenas to hold the truth of that balance. And so we have things like geranium also heals the broken heart. So if you think of like the rose geranium we are talking about, and it instills in unconditional love and fosters trust. So geranium is a very good oil for grief. So when you're going through grief yourself and having lost a loved one, it's beautiful to anoint yourself with rose geranium. And it also heals in the emotional wounds, like we were talking about frankincense healing the emotional wounds as well, and the wounds of addiction and things that we've grafted onto ourselves because we felt the separation from the Father. And this could be actually the Father on the earthly plane as well, who could be representative of that, that separation we felt from Source. Interesting. So geranium's good. Lavender also encourages emotional honesty, to express your innermost thoughts, and encourages very much an open communication. So again, it works on the heart being open to hear through the ears of the heart. And Kathy is saying to us, geranium is the balancer oil of the triad. Which triad are you talking about, Kathy? Maybe to put it in the chat box. And then we go on to sandalwood, which is the oil of devotion. And this calms the mind. Thank you. So it's the oil that balances mind, body, and spirit. Sandalwood calms the mind, stills the heart, and prepares the spirit to commune with God. So if you feel like you've been a little bit distant, busy with yourself, thinking that you should have all the answers to all of life's dilemmas, to still oneself and to come to sandalwood allows you to have that deep inner listening that gets you connected back to source and hear holy wisdom from the Divine Mother herself, and Divine Father. And sandalwood also helps you to leave behind attachments. So this is one of the preparations that we need when we're letting go of things. And it said that every day really is a death. We need to learn to let go of things and our attachments. And it's a practice for that great time when we pass over into the door of eternal life, and where there is no separation. So throwing away things you don't need could be a good way to start detaching, clearing the clutter. Rose, of course, is the oil of the highest frequency, and it is the oil of divine love. It helps us also to process sorrow and grief, and it connects us with the cosmic mother who radiates all love and healing. So the rose is the highest of frequencies. I think it's 300 and something hertz, very high. So it helps you to come into your own inner center, into that nous that we talked about, that place of the meeting place with the beloved. It heals the inner child and the shadow, and it connects us with our higher self. So self-love and self-care is primary for the peace of our souls. And rose transmutes our heart energy to experience the unconditional love. So that's just a short overview of what some of the other oils can do, because you might have any of those in your cupboard, and they are great to have a meditation with as well. So I'd like to invite Stella Nura to lead us into a meditation that you can do with your oil, whatever it is that you find yourself with at home. Okay? All right. We play spotlight.
So you may have an oil with you, and choose one that you feel that you would like to meet with, meet the spirit and the essence of the oil. So again, be comfortable, be relaxed, come into a soft breathing space, and deepen. You may need your eyes open for a moment, because you need to, whichever bottle you use, or whichever, you may want to put 1 or 2 drops in the palm of your hand. Or you may just like to breathe in the fragrance from the bottle itself. So as you deepen and breathe in and soften, take your attention to your third eye and your intuition. So take your attention to your third eye. Your crown chakra and your pineal glands, they're all working together as you smell the oil. So when you take that first smell of the oil, you may wish to ask the oil for permission to work with its sacred essence. As we're working intuitively and heart-centered with the oil, it also has this its own spiritual essence and connection with you. So breathe in the fragrance. You may want to move your hand, if you've got the drops in your hand, just around under your nose, around, breathing in the fragrance. Now, notice any sensations that come to you straight away. It's like it just comes to you. A feeling, a sensation, an image, a symbol, a sound, tone. The fragrance of the oil is offering you something of itself. Its healing power, its spiritual power, its beauty. Sometimes the smell or the fragrance of an oil is quite strange. It may be musky or bitter or earthy. But that's where its essence is held, in its note, spiritual note. Maybe you have already used some of your oil for treatment or for healing, and you know about what its healing energies are, but you can still deepen and tune in to its vibration. Ask for guidance and how to be of service. This may not come to you straight away. You may need to sit with your oils for a few days, breathing in and settling and being open to what the oil offers. Offer gratitude for the opening to the beauty and spirit and sacredness of the oil. As time goes by and you work with the oil, you will expand and fine-tune your inner sight, your mouse of the heart. And now, slowly give thanks and gratitude to the oil. And gently focus on your breathing, letting go, bringing your breath and yourself back to the awareness of your space. Take another breath and open your eyes. One thing I would like to say is that much of the work that I have been doing with sacred oils has come from the most amazing Myrrophore. Her name is Felicity Warner. And I'm just going to hold up, this is the book that she has written on sacred oils. And it is from here that she talks about connecting with an oil. And sometimes it's good to keep that opening up to the oil for over a period of time. I mean, she suggests maybe up to a month. However, it depends on really how deeply you want to pursue that, or whether sometimes the oil just gives itself to you. So it's up to you really to decide how that's going to work for you. But I'd like to give thanks and gratitude to Felicity Warner. She has been a great mentor to me. So thank you. Back to you, Anna Sophia.
Yes, now you're reminding me, Estella, Nura, you were going to talk about the card of Felicity Warner's, how we started. I can show people again that the beautiful altar that you made. Oh, hold on, I've got to share screen. And maybe you'd like to tell us about what happened with that card and Felicity's experience. So there you can see it in the middle. Now, can you unmute yourself, Annie, and tell us about that card?
There we go. Yes, this is a beautiful painting by Felicity, and she has a long story of being a Myrrophore, but this particular story took her back to a time in a past life where it took her so easily to this group of Myrrophores. What was happening was that she was working with some of her a group of advanced healers, and they were doing a lot of work around sacred oils, and together they did a meditation, and they were taken instantly to a place where they were all Myrrophores together. They were priestesses of the oils in a small village in Dorset in the UK. It's called Abbotsbury. I did travel there when I was overseas, and it's a beautiful village, but it has this convent. And Felicity tells that this group of women that she was working with all found themselves as priestesses of the oils in this convent. They were nuns, and they were, it was also a swannery. And the swan is a symbol of the transition from our reality through the sacred threshold. So the swan was a major symbol for them in the work that they were doing as well. And so this whole experience of this whole group of women having the same experience of being Myrrophores was quite, it was an awakening for her. That's where she made the decision to do her work as a Myrrophore and offer working with the deaf and dying in the UK. So she has become a respected and renowned soul midwife in the UK. But after that, she painted this picture. She said these Myrrophores would bring someone in who may be dying or needed healing, and they would bring them along the river between Chesil Beach and Abbotsbury, the village. So Chesil Beach is a long stony beach along the south coast of Dorset, and they would bring them for healing by boat. And that's another sort of wonderful symbol of being taken by boat across the Avalon or across the Styx, or those beautiful symbolic things of being taken in a boat to your resting place. So it was just a beautiful story, and a real life experience for her.
Wonderful. So we're coming up to our time now. I hope you found it all fascinating like I have. And is there anyone who would like to say anything at this point of time before we close?
How do you spell the what was it called? Fragonia?
Yep, Fragonia, Fragonia. I can put in the chat box. Fragonia. Fragonia. There we go. And I also wanted to share with you the name of a book that I've got a lot of my information from today, and it's called The Secret Teachings. I'm putting it in the chat box. The Secret Teachings of Mary Magdalene. And it's by two authors, two women, Claire Nahmad.
Anna, your chat's not coming up. Just make sure in the little blue box it goes to everyone.
Oh, everyone, it's saying. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just make sure it says to everyone, because it's not coming up on the chat
everyone
box.
in the waiting room. Okay, everyone in the meeting. Right. Oh, I see. Somehow it defaulted to the waiting room. No worries. Secret Teachings of Mary Magdalene by Claire Nahmad and Margaret Bailey, who was a channel and was able to access the inner realms called the Rose of Sharon. It explains to you. And she actually has in this book, we know, I'll just write Fragonia in again. We've got the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, but it has a few pages missing in the front. So it only starts at a certain place. But there, Margaret Bailey in this book channels the missing pages. And it's really fantastic. When you read it, it's all about love, and how we return back to love. So for me, when I read that, it gave a fullness of Mary's story and the parts that have been missing. So it's recommended. I just got this on my Kindle. It's beautiful. So I've been going through it, and very great historically, and just how it brings in all her connections through France, for the France and England, and the travels that they had elsewhere. Just the revolution, the quiet revolution that happened from within. That we only hear about the massacres and the martyrdom on the outside, but this was the inner revolution that Yeshua said it was, probably he knew that people wouldn't get it in a way, but 2,000 years later, and this is why we were prompted to put this together, because that Cathar prophecy by the last standing Cathar, Guillaume Belestade, in 21st of August 1321, which is only a couple of weeks ago, he was the last Cathar leader who was massacred, and he prophesied that good men and women would rise up 700 years later, and the laurel would turn green again. And the laurel is a symbol of divine love, but also of the teachings of love and brotherhood. So if there isn't any better time to bring this on, it's now, when the world is so divided. And I just want to tell you too about the White Eagle Brotherhood. So in this book, The Secret Teachings talk about Grace, oh, I can't remember her name now, who the woman who founded the White Eagle Brotherhood had a visitation when she was in the Pyrenees herself in 1936. Grace Kelly? No, Grace, can't remember now. And from that, the vision of the six pointed star, or the two interlocking triangles, came through for her. This is like spirit into matter and matter into spirit. It's the male and female coming together. And a lot of their healing is done with this visualization of the interlocking triangles and seeing the divine light, the bright shining star, the Christ light, shining out. And this is very good, so I recommend you go and have a look at that. It's called White Eagle wrote it down, something.org. And they've got a beautiful
White Eagle Lodge, the White Eagle Lodge.
The White Eagle Lodge, thank you.
Very wonderful.
Very wonderful. And it's like the teachings of the way. You know, they're just eclectic, and not any particular teachings, but of course of the Christ light. So this is the inner teachings that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene had talked about. So yeah, they're two things that I wanted to tell you about that I found very inspiring, because I've been asking these questions myself. And of course, the Sufi path, whatever path you follow, really is the Christ light anyway, because it takes us into our heart, the great balancer. So whatever encourages love and forgiveness, which were really the two main things that Christ talked about, and that there was no difference between male and female, like everyone was equal. Of course, there's differences, but everyone is equal in the sight of the one. So these teachings are very, very much needed these days. And yeah, and there's a lot of things we need to forgive ourselves for and forgive on the earth plane. So it keeps coming back and washing us with that remembrance of forgiveness. So to visualize these two interlocking triangles. And I'll just ask if anybody has anything else to add or they'd like to say now before we finish up. Stella?
I don't want to hog. I'm desperate to say something.
Yes, good, Kat. Yes.
So, you know, this Fragonia, it's only found in my area apparently. So now I'm going to see if I can do something about that. On the 10th of September, I wrote in my diary, I woke with the word luminous. And Stella Nura was saying you kept saying the word luminous, luminous. And I actually wrote, I was thinking, why the word luminous? Well, maybe it's because it's pointing to that in my area. So anyway, I just found that very exciting.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
That's
You
why
can
you're
look it
meant
up
to be here.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Another thing, the star with the two triangles is also the heart chakra in yoga.
Yeah, anahata. Yeah.
Yeah, anahata. That's right.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to the heart.
Yeah. So Diane's asking where our information came from. So a lot of mine comes from different sources, but I've especially been inspired by that book that I've just put in the chat, The Secret Teachings of Mary Magdalene by Claire Nachmad and Margaret Bailey. And Stella Nura's information came from Felicity's book and her trainings with her, so called The Sacred Oils. Shall I write that down? Maybe The Sacred Oils by Felicity Warner.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you for this, because this has resonated at such a deep level, because I've actually been intuitively working with oils for a few years now and just making my own blends. And I actually have Fragonia. I've been working with Fragonia.
Oh, wow.
So my heart is jumping, it's doing little cartwheels because it's so happy. And, when you said Myrrophore, sorry, and priestess of oils, I thought, in all my tarot readings, I keep getting the priestess card and I didn't quite understand what priestess. And then when you said that, I thought, oh, that's my path.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
How beautiful.
So I'm just over the moon and so grateful to, Asta actually pointed me towards you. So I'm grateful to Asta and to you for this. Seriously, my heart is doing cartwheels.
This is fabulous, fabulous, Sarah. And I know I felt this amazing. I was so excited about today because I felt different souls just being attracted and the word getting out and meeting people that I didn't even know. It's like the word went out into the cosmos and the attraction came. And that's what I'm feeling these end times, is that, we're calling our soul groups together, and we probably all had past lives as Cathars or something, and we're remembering that we are the anointed ones and we have the power within us as well. We have that Christ light within us, and it's all within our heart. Yeah, wow.
Thank you.
I think that's really beautiful to hear, Zira. And I think you said you live near the Hawkesbury?
Yes.
So you're not too far away from Raimunda,
No.
which is lovely. And so there might be a connection there with someone from the dancers, if you're interested in connecting, I don't know, with Raimunda. But certainly our next session in October, you might be interested in coming on, zooming on that, which is about death and dying. But yes, it would be lovely to see you there too. And if you want to contact any of us, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, and very soon I'll be stopping the record button, so there'll be a recording that I'll send out to everyone so we can get the facts and anything that we may have missed.
Anna Sophia.
Yes.
I've put the song. This is the book about the Indigenous song lines. Now I've written it in the chat box, but I don't know how to get it to everyone. What do I have to press?
What do you want to put on the chat box?
I've put the title.
Yeah.
And of this book.
Okay. So where it says to, and then you've got a little drop box that says with an arrow.
Oh, yes.
Everyone. To everyone. Yep.
Oh, send chat to everyone.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
So you can. What was it called? I can type it in for you.
It's called Song Spirals.
Song Spirals. Yeah.
It's by Gay Wu.
Oh, so my chat box is in the way. Hold on. By Gay Wu. Oh,
Gay Wu Group of Women.
Oh, Gay Wu Group of Women.
Written by a Gay Wu Group of Women.
A Gay Wu Group of Women. Okay, everyone can see that now, I think. Gay Wu Group of Women.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. So, any other comments or reflections or excitements?
Yes, it was wonderful. And thank you. I've had this book for a while, since we were up in Milestone, but I've hardly touched it. So thank you so much. It was really nice to get into it and learn a bit more about the oils, which I love.
Great.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you, Sadira. All right, so we'll finish off, and I'm going to play some music from Amina Karima, or Linda, who created the dances of Mary Magdalene. They were channeled through for her, and you can see a lot of those things. I'll write it down. last year we did a whole series on Mary Magdalene and the Rosary on the Tree of Life. And so, and that's all found in a YouTube called Dancing with Mary Magdalene. So if you want to have a look at any more, Dancing with Mary Magdalene. And also, if you want to be on Amina Karima's list, dance leaders, people interested, once a month she's going to be giving dance instructions. So she'll be doing a little YouTube where you can really learn the dances and the attunements. So yeah, just let me know, just email me if you want to be in touch and on her database as well. And this last song that we can go out with, and we can just maybe visualize the from shining from our heart, that six-pointed star, the interlocking star, and bringing that healing out to different places of the world. Because this Messiah song is called Yeshua Messiah, and then it goes to Kala Messiah. So Messiah is the anointed one. I'll write it down in the chat box. And Kala is the bride of light. So it's again this union of masculine and feminine. And we can imagine that this star, this six-pointed star, the two interlocking triangles, are sending out healing to the places of the world that we put our imagination to, that we have put our intention to, or healing to a certain place or person. So I'll just, I'll play that and then I'll finish the recording. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again next month. Blessed be. All right. So here we go. No. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Okay. Blessed be, you are the anointed.